And here we go. Welcome back. Oh, goodness gracious. What a morning. It's a Tuesday morning.
Good one.
It has been a good one. And anytime I get to talk to you, Kevin, it's always great. And coming up in just a few days.
It's next week, so you know it. You know.
Your classes start back up.
That's right. Classes at Lewis and Clark for real estate, and everything else, of course, starts up next week. Real estate classes start on Tuesday. College is closed on Monday for the Martin Luther King holiday. And then so we officially reopen for the spring semester on Tuesday.
It's incredible that this month is flying by as quickly as, because January was normally always the slow month for me.
It was. I agree. It's like, I always look forward to Lent because Lent was kind of like, winter's almost over. So, but unfortunately, Lent this year isn't until March.
That's right.
And so it means fish fries are going to start a little bit later than we're used to.
But you know what? I'm a complainer, and I hate the cold. So the further we get into April, I'm happy until it rains. Then I'm a big complainer on Easter. I don't like a rainy Easter.
No, we want Easter to be a nice sunny day.
But you know what? No matter if it's rainy or sunny, if you are learning and prepared the right way on how to handle transactions in real estate, you're going to have a great career.
You are. The real estate business is a fun business.
It really is.
It can be challenging at times, but it also gives you the opportunity to explore a lot of different avenues of business. We in our classes, we talk about business in general. We talk about the economy, valuing properties, how issues affect the real estate business. So, we think about political issues because think about the 20th is not only Martin Luther King Day, but it's also Inauguration Day. And so, political issues, they affect real estate as well. We explore all of that. So the nice thing about our classes, I don't teach you just how to pass the state exam. We teach you the real estate business. We teach you what you need to know to succeed.
Well, and you've done this so long now, and not it's talking about age, but just saying that a tried and true method, because you've seen it all from counties passing property tax increases and how they affect the market there locally to national issues and how they affect the broader market and interest rates. I mean, there's a whole big component there that we don't see.
It's very complex. People don't realize it, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, how you probably want to look at it, we make it look easy. We make it look like, there's nothing to this.
That's a really good point.
There's a lot more to it than people realize.
Does that, I've always been curious about that point of it, because to me, when I was always thought about this, and just like being an admin person at, a hospital, I was talking to the Zach Yoder, the new president of St. Anthony's yesterday on the show. Right. And the big kind of thing we talked about is, that you're doing something right when no one sees the progress in motion, when your patients don't see all the components going on. But for a real estate agent, should you try to educate your client a little bit about what you're doing and not show them all the nuts and bolts of the stresses of it, but just a little bit of it to say, hey, here is the process? Yes,
even more so today, because since 2019, there's been a lawsuit that was filed against the National Association of Realtors.
Okay.
The largest real estate franchises out there, and then also the MLSs.
Wow.
Basically claiming that we violated the Sherman and Clayton Antitrust Acts. There's some issues there. And, part of that was the fact that people didn't see the value in what brokers were doing. They didn't understand why we got paid and how we got paid. And now, that's been cleared up. 'Cause as of now, brokers have to have a buyer brokerage agreement with their buyer. It is required by Illinois License Act now, as of January the 1st, and it's required due to an agreement we have with the Department of Justice due to those lawsuits that we had, and our MLS rules now. And so when a broker says to you, hey, before I can show you a property, I have to have a buyer brokerage agreement with you, those are the new rules that we have to follow. Part of that is, and this was a part of the lawsuit that they filed, was buyers now have to, I'm going to rephrase that, they don't have to pay, but we have to discuss the buyer paid our commission. Part of this was they want the buyer to pay their broker, and they want the seller to pay their broker. Yeah. Now, it's still possible for the seller to pay the buyer's broker. That's still out there. But today, you really have to be able to explain why you're being paid. So that buyer needs to understand, when you sit down to that buyer and say, I have to have this agreement with you. I have to have a contract with you. This is why, and this is what I charge for my services. You better be able to explain what those services are.
Right.
And what we do. And, part of what I do, and this is what the buyer doesn't understand, is the negotiating process. I develop a complete strategy for my client for the negotiations. And they don't realize that. When I sit down with my client to go over a contract with them, I've already developed a complete plan on how we're going to get through this.
That's so interesting, and because I like to know just how the machine works in a way,
Yep.
Because to me, I wouldn't even know. To me, it would be a fluid situation. It'd all be a dependent situation on what that seller has to say. I wouldn't have that plan of motion. Now, I'd have an idea, but I wouldn't know. I'd just say, well, he's asking $70,000. Okay.
Right.
Is that the right thing to do?
No, I mean, you get that strategy. And the same thing when I represent the seller. When I get that offer in, I sit down with that seller and say, we have this offer. I have no idea what the buyer is going to do, but I can anticipate what that's going to be. Mm-hmm. I have an idea of where they are.
Yeah.
And so when I sit down with my seller, I say, they offered us this. I think we should counter with this because I anticipate they're going to come down to this,
right?
And they're going to ask for this, and so it's a complete strategy. Mm-hmm. And actually, this is one thing that sellers don't understand is that every single contract that we get is a good contract. No such thing as a bad contract, not at all.
Can you explain that a little bit?
I do, because the only way we can get this process started is to have a contract come in.
That's true. That's true.
We can't do anything until the contract comes in. And most of the time, the first contract that you get is your best contract.
Really?
And so if the seller, you should do everything you can to try to negotiate that contract to a conclusion.
I'm getting this now, because whenever you have those back and forth, that's when you start to lose maybe a little bit of that, what you already had in that first contract, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So what happens is now, say for example, the seller says, forget it, I'm done, I'm going to walk away. Mm-hmm. Okay? The next offer they get is probably going to be lower.
Yep.
They probably have had a price reduction in between time. And so in the end, the seller will end up netting less if they accept the second offer.
Because the more time that sits, I'm guessing that's more ammo for any buyer's agent to go, well, it's been sitting here for 6 months,
Exactly. I mean, we do our research. So before I even, write that offer, I know how many days your house has been on the market. I know how many price reductions you've had. I know when you made that price reduction. I listen, because anything that I hear about you, the seller, okay, is fair game for me to use to help my buyer get a better deal.
Makes sense.
So we talk about confidentiality, and you have to keep everything confidential. Keep it off of Facebook, because if I find out why you're selling, I'm using it against you.
Well, 100%. And see, that's where going to these classes, and I'm not, and Kevin, I'm not saying that to patronize you, but I'm just talking with you, and then folks that have been to your classes have said the same thing. It's intensive. I mean, you're going to learn.
You're going to learn.
But it's going to prepare you so well for the things that, are going to come your way. It's not easy. Being a real estate agent's one of those things we all see the smiling billboards and go, man, that would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be.
Until you realize how many calls and how many hours you're working the phones and all of it.
And HGTV.
Yeah.
They say it's reality TV. What's not reality when it comes to our business? We don't show 3 houses and you buy one.
Right.
But there's it does get people's interest, I guess. But it is a lot of fun.
It is. But you just, like you said, though, when you know it, though, and you have those tools that, hey, you know what, we talked about this a little bit. I have at least a background, and maybe I can call, John Smith and see if he knows a little bit more about this property that's listed online. Because, Kevin, I'll tell you this, I learned more about my property talking to the neighbors than, I would have looking online, looking at any county records, you name it.
That's one of the things that we tell our sellers. We have 2 people that can disclose stuff about your property. You or your neighbor. Mm-hmm. You don't want your neighbor to do it. Okay?
You're right. It makes
Okay.
sense, though. I'm
right.
not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's true.
It is true. Yeah. I mean, you don't, because if you don't tell them the neighbor's going to, and then the neighbor thinks that, or your buyer now thinks that you lied to them.
Yeah.
And now that opens up a whole Pandora's box. So disclosure is really a good thing.
Yeah.
Disclosing what you know, just telling people about the property.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of things happen over the years that the seller or the neighbor didn't really know what happened, but they thought they did. And so you're better off to head that off before it ever happens.
It's vetting a source. It's vetting, and it's so important. And so, with this, how long are your courses? What's the length?
The classes start next week, and they last a full semester.
Oh, wow.
So they can be done with the complete program and be ready to be licensed in May.
That's incredible. What's the license the licensing process look like for the state test and what is the whole process?
Well, there's 140 questions on the state exam.
Okay.
100 are national questions, which are things that are just done the same in every state.
Okay.
And then we have 40 questions that are just about Illinois. And the test isn't that bad. Everybody freaks out about math. Well, we're going to make sure you know the math. And there's only 13 math questions on the entire state exam.
So you can get all those wrong and still pass.
You can get all those wrong and still pass. Okay? So if you're not a math person, that's fine. We're going to help you get through that. So if you can get, some of the math, half of the math, hey, who cares about the rest?
Right.
So it's the other stuff that you have to really know.
Well, and you're so right. And the thing is, Kevin, to me, it's not just knowing to pass the test. It's knowing to be successful in this, because you're only going to be as good as you are in this.
True. I mean, that's very true. And, and unfortunately, too often, people sign up for a class online.
Oh, yeah.
They read about it. They really don't know. Then they go to their broker, and their broker is busy, and they're trying to teach them. Mm-hmm. Well, our goal is when you leave our program, you got a heads up over everybody else. You know how to write contracts. You know how to negotiate. You still have to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a learning process. And the other thing, too, is being cognizant of the fact that this is a 3 to 5 year process for you to build your business. It's like any other business.
Yeah.
You didn't get started having all the listeners that you have today. It took time to build that up.
I stood on the street corner and said, "Hear me out."
That's right. Exactly.
But in a way, yeah, you're right.
I mean, when I got started, it was the same way.
You're right.
I remember when I first started doing appraisals. I think the first year we did like 6 appraisals. And
really?
Then, in a few years, we're doing 300 to 400 appraisals.
It's incredible.
And so it just takes time.
Well, and being determined. And that's something that, it's not even just an industry specific statement like you just said. It's for anybody. You just got to stick through that 3 to 5 year plan and know it's going to take some time, but that ship will start to move.
Exactly. And, one of the things that I hear a lot is people say, can you do this part time? And the answer is definitely.
Oh, you think so?
Yep. Definitely. Okay. There's no reason. Actually, if you look at a lot of the offices that we have, brokerages out there, probably, I bet over half of their brokers are part-time.
No kidding. I see now you're convinced. You've convinced me. It makes sense though now that you say
so.
That.
You can do this part-time. It's not a problem. In fact, keeping the day job can be very, a smart strategy, because now you can work your way out of that day job if you want. Mm-hmm. I even tell my students, keep a connection to whatever job.
Yeah.
You never know when the economy is going to change, things happen, and you may want to go back and pick up some shifts wherever you were working before, or pick up for when somebody's off doing it, part-time.
Yeah.
That can be a smart move.
Well, and even heck, I'll just be honest, for my case, I host a talk show, might as well get the real estate license and grab one property a year, and then that way I'm building onto my house or buying a new one,
That's right. Yeah, and it's, we get a lot of people that do that. They're going to flip houses.
Yeah.
And so they come in, take the class, learn about that. Some of them, they tell me the first day, I'm not going to get licensed. I'm just doing this so I understand the business. Mm-hmm. And then by the time the class is over with, they're getting licensed.
Right.
And
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
It's a great career, great opportunity.
What's the cost of the course look like? Do you have that info?
I do. I'll give you rough numbers.
Okay.
Each class, so you have to take 3 classes at the college. You take Real 135, 136, and 137. They don't have to be taken in any particular order. We just have them set up that way. So we do start with 135 next week. 136 starts in March.
Gotcha.
So basically, they're all set to be 8-week courses except for 137.
Okay.
So They're all 8-week courses. So you start 135, get that done in 8 weeks. So in March, that's done. You pick up 136. We just take off where we left off. And then you're done with that class in May. So we meet from 7 to about 9:30-ish. And then 137 is really just a recap type of a course that just go back and talk about things that we've already talked about. And it only meets 4 nights. It's 4 Tuesday nights, starting in April, I think it is. So it doesn't last that long. And so it's just to go back and make sure that like a little refresher.
We're polished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the cost is for each, for 135, it's about $460. For 136, it's about $460, and then 137 is about $160 thereabouts. And so
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, for basically about $1,000, you can have this, have a whole new career.
Well, and I mean, even if it's not a career, like you said, just investing in yourself. You never know when you can use it, and just trying it. Like if you have a full-time job, going, hey, let's try it out on the side. Let's try part-time. Yeah.
It's a great side gig.
Yeah. It's going to pay you more than Uber.
It is. And it's probably a lot safer.
I would say so too.
And so, yeah, it's safer it's better than Uber or whatever. And so, but it's a great opportunity for people.
Well, and like you said, there's so much you can truly do with the knowledge of it, because real estate is not going to go. It's never industry specific.
You're right.
Covers it all.
It covers everything, and there's a lot of opportunities. You can do commercial real estate, residential real estate, property management. So there's a lot of opportunities. You have folks that get into the business and they think, well, I'd like to do appraisals. So they go on to get their appraiser's license, or maybe financing.
Yeah.
They take that side of it. So.
Well, and to me, Kevin, it's just one of those things where I really mean that. It's truly one that it's not going to scare you. If it's scary to go, well, this is new and what am I going to do?
Yep.
But compared to the safety net of some other industries and what the ceiling is, I mean, real estate, you're going to be able to use so much with it, especially with the conversations you have too.
You will.
Yeah.
And we do have people sign up, just like you said. We have people sign up because they want to buy a house. We have people sign up because they want to sell their house. And
why not?
They just want to have knowledge.
Well, and that's the thing. And how long have you taught these classes now?
About 27 years.
It's incredible.
It is, yeah.
That is incredible.
I've been in the real estate business for about 38 years.
So you're going to be learning a thing or two.
Yes, we'll be learning just a few things. And one thing I do in all my classes, we talk about real life experiences things that have really happened. I tell my students that every story I tell them is true.
Yeah.
I don't have to make them up yet. Now, they look at me sometimes and say, you had to make that one up. No, I don't make any of my stories up. They're all true. They really happened. They really either happened to me or somebody that worked for me, or they happen to another broker in the area, and I know about it. So they've called me. I'm a resource for a lot of the other brokers in the area.
Yeah,
so they're calling me, asking me questions, and they tell me their stories, and I pass them off to you.
Well, and that's the thing too, because there's so many times, like you said, where it's, you could get your real estate license in 6 weeks and $25.99, online with the whatever University of New Connecticut you want to insert there. But the thing is, whenever you're doing something like this, you're learning it from somebody who's invested in the community, like yourself. You're also learning in the community in which you're wanting to work, and that's the biggest component of it. Why would you learn online when online isn't where you're selling?
No, exactly right. And if you look at the pass rate for the state exam,
I bet
pass rate statewide is about 50%.
What?
50%. 50% of the brokers that take the state exam pass. Now, our pass rate at the college is closer to 90%.
I bet. That's why.
I do track our pass rate, and it fluctuates. It's not always 90%. Sometimes it goes down a little bit more. Sometimes it goes up a little bit higher.
A little margin of error,
a little margin of error there. But we're always, well above the state average. And so that's the other thing too is when you're taking a class anywhere, it's what is that pass rate?
Right.
And that's, when you take the class, in some places, if you don't, if you do it online, you have to take a test just to complete the course.
Right.
Okay. Well, every time you fail the test, they charge you more. Okay, well, we don't do that.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah,
So
we
this
don't
is
do
like,
that.
but that's like such a gimmick though. All right,
It
so
is.
you lost this time, so do you want to double up? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
that's not fair.
You know, when you take our class, when you're done, you're prepared. You know, state exam costs every time you take it. We have no control over that.
Right.
But, we're not going to say, oh, you failed the class. We're going to charge you X number of dollars more to take the test again. No. We're going to, help you out there. That doesn't happen.
Well, and Kevin, that's why I really enjoy talking with you, because young people look at real estate, and I want everyone to have the best chart forward, and I always like to talk with folks that provide that resource like your classes, because this is one of those industries that even though it's fun and there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad to it too when it comes to online scams and things, and that's why if you're going to do this, and I hope you do, learn from somebody that's done it, learn from somebody that's physically in front of you with a group of people in a reputable institution, and you're good to go.
That's right, exactly right. And to get started, you have to be at least 18 years of age.
Yeah.
So as long as you're 18, you have a high school diploma or its equivalent, you're set.
There you go.
And actually for the class itself, they can be under 18 to take the course. They just have to be 18
when they're
before
licensed.
When they're licensed. So if somebody, is in high
like it.
school or whatever, or just getting out of high school and they think, well, I graduated early and I'd like to do this, hop on in.
Man, what time do you guys meet every morning?
We meet at 7 o'clock in the evening. Actually, we have two classes. We have one in the daytime, which takes longer to do it in the daytime.
Yeah.
But we have one class that meets in the day from 9:20 until 10:40, but that's an entire semester, and it takes a couple semesters to get that one done. But the evening class meets from 7 in the evening till about 9:15 or so.
Wow.
Yep. And 2 nights a week, Monday and Wednesday.
That might not be a bad option for CJ to look into.
Yeah, it may not
I'm
be.
being serious. I'm not this time around, but I'm thinking for the next semester. You never know. And I'm
never
one of
know.
those people that likes to do a lot of things just in case, because
Sure.
in case of emergency, break the glass open and see what you can pull out.
You always have the license. Once you have it, it's yours. So you can just take your continuing education,
Yeah.
which is pretty simple to do. There's a good instructor that teaches CE. I know him pretty well, me. But it's easy to get your license and to keep it.
Well, and Kevin, thank you so much for stopping by. How can we get signed up?
All you have to do is call the college, and that number is 618-468-7000. Call the college, ask for the enrollment center. Actually, it's going to prompt you online. When you call the enrollment center, tell them that you'd like to enroll in the real estate classes. They know all the numbers. It's Rule 135, 36, and 37. They already know that. And the other thing, too, is if you have any problems when you call to register, you can reach out to me anytime. And my number is 618-973-1643. That is my cell phone number. So you can call my office at the college if you want. It's just going to come to my cell phone anyway. So just make it easy on you.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And whenever you're ready to come back on talking about the next semester after this one or anything else you're doing, you're more than welcome to.
Hey, sounds good to me.
We'll take a quick break. More Daily Show on this taped Tuesday comes back. Man, taped is just not my friend today. I'm telling you. What? We'll be back more right after this.